everybody, and a very warm welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. This, the 6th race of the International GT Open season. 60 minutes around one of the finest circuits in motorsport, the iconic home of the Belgian Grand Prix, undulating through the Ardennes countryside, and this, the 3rd stop on our Grand Tour around some of the finest tracks in Europe. And it is going to be a frenetic afternoon of racing. We have got the cars forming up on the grid, and yesterday it was Norbert Siedler and Michael Grenier who scored their 3rd victory of the season for Emil Frey Racing. That means they come in to stay tied on the points at the top of the championship with Albert Costa and Giacomo Altoe in the sister car. But we have had plenty of drama along the way so far today, because qualifying turned into a 15-minute shootout, which was claimed in the end in terms of pole position by Tom Onslow Cole, continuing his phenomenal qualifying form from this season. He edged out Albert Costa. Onslow Cole in the SPS Automotive Mercedes that he shares with Valentin Pierberg. The reason why it was such a shortened qualifying session was there was a monstrous accident involving Giuseppe Cipriani over at Pouhon. Cipriani was fine, the Antonelli Motorsport Mercedes less so, and the barriers even less so than that, which brought quite a long delay to proceedings. Second on the grid then for Albert Costa, and he is just focused on the job ahead of him. Third for Norbert Siedler then, victorious yesterday for Emil Frey Racing, but of course what that means is that he and Giacomo Altoe are carrying a fairly hefty quantity of success seconds into today's race. Ben Barnicoat, 4th on the grid, and Barnicoat stepping in alongside Marcello Hahn this weekend in the Teo Marti Motorsport McLaren. It's his teammate Andres Saravia who lines up in 5th place. Saravia, who didn't get to drive yesterday after the bizarre incident which saw Fran Reda illuminated behind the safety car. 6th on the grid for yesterday's runner-up, Miguel Ramos, alongside Fabrizio Cristani in the 2nd of the SPS Mercedes. In the background, you just had a glimpse of Bernd Schneider, as 7th on the grid is Thomas Jaeger in the Row Racing Sun Energy Mercedes that he shares with Kenny Harble. They were runners-up in the Pro-Am class in yesterday's race. Am pole position for Martin Conrad in the HTP Motorsport Mercedes. Conrad, who had a tough time of it yesterday, he and Alexander Raquina retiring about mid-distance, but they were the double winners in the AM class in Hockenheim. Raffaele Gianmaria in Raton Racing by Target Lamborghini starts in 9th. Something of a miracle that that car is there after the huge crash it experienced in qualifying yesterday at the top of Radion. And then completing the top 10 on the grid is Enrique Chavez. He and Martin Kodrich finished 3rd yesterday for Teo Martin Motorsport. As the 1-minute siren is sounded, Kang Ling in 11th place for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. And he and Frederick Schandorf were 3rd in the Pro-Am class in yesterday's race. So here is a look what happened. We started behind the safety car due to a heavy shower just before the start, and that meant that Fabrizio Cristani was able to lead the field away single file as they headed through La Source. There were some good battles all the way through the field. Nicholas Pola in particular, and Nicola Di Marco at the wheel of the Dico Lazarus Lamborghini. Also Adrian Amstutz inheriting a great position from Patrick Koala. It allowed Miguel Ramos to take the lead of the race briefly, but he had got Norbert Siedler hunting him down all the while. Then we had the rain starting to come down. That allowed Enrique Chavez to move ahead of Albert Costa. But as the torrential rain fell, we finished, not unsurprisingly, behind the safety car. And that gave Norbert Siedler and Michael Grenier their 3rd win of the campaign. So the field heading off on their formation. This is how they line up. Tom Onslow Cole and Albert Costa on row 1. Norbert Siedler and Ben Barnicoat share row 2. Row 3, Andres Saravia and Miguel Ramos. The McLarens, Lamborghinis and Mercedes well represented at the front of the field. And all Mercedes row 4, Thomas Jaeger and AM class pole sitter Martin Conrad. Rafael Maria and Enrique Chavez on row 5. Row 6 of the grid is Kang Ling and then Michael Meadows in the Antonelli Motorsport Mercedes. Row 7, all Team Lazarus, Nicola Di Marco and Eliseo Martinez. Christopher Froggatt and Federico Leo on row 8, with then John Schaffner and Adrian Amstutz on row 9. The top 20 rounded out by Davide Roda, yesterday's AM class winner, and Christoph Lenz, with then Giuseppe Cipriani not there, and Luis Silva to complete the field in the Sports and U Mercedes. So on the formation lap then, 60 minutes ahead of us, we have got the mandatory pit stop between 24 and 36 minutes of the race, and they run, of course, all on the Control Compound Michelin tyre. And so that will, I'm sure, give us some very close racing. Yesterday, the field were quite spread out in the first half of the race, just because of the nature of the safety car start. Today, it is going to be the bunch start, as Rafael Maria weaves around a bit in the Raton by Target Lamborghini, warming his tyres, heading down through Pouhon. The front of the field, though, lots to consider in terms of strategy, in terms of the way the points are going to play out, and also pit handicaps will be a factor as well, with, in particular, yesterday's race winners, Norbert Seidler and Michael Grenier, having a fair amount of time in the pits to overcome. That opens the door up to others to possibly take advantage. As everybody weaves around, gets a little bit of warmth into the tyres. This is the car that was so quick yesterday. Adrian Amstutz alongside Patrick Koala, the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. The Imperiale team making their return to the championship this weekend, and immediately, as we would have expected, right on the pace. So the field already beginning to bunch up a little bit behind the pace car, which is bringing them round. And then Tom Onslow Cole, he got jumped off the line, if you recall, a fortnight ago in Hockenheim, and it was Matt Griffin who was able to lead the early phase of that race. Griffin and Duncan Cameron not here this weekend, unfortunately, so instead Onslow Cole will have to try and keep Albert Costa behind him as they head towards La Source in car with Michael Meadows in the Antonelli Motorsport Mercedes. Meadows right in the middle of the field. Row 6th, 12th on the grid. The field all just bunching up on each other as the pace car makes sure that they're all in formation as they head into the bus stop chicane. Then the circuit car will peel away, and it will be fully the responsibility of Onslow Cole and Costa to look for the lights on the gantry when they go green. Then we'll be going racing for the 6th time this season. It should be a good one as the pace begins to build. Now the noise begins to build as the cars thunder along the grid, waiting for the lights to switch. And away we go. Who's got the jump from the line? It's a very good getaway from Tom Onslow Cole. Also from Ben Barnicoat, who slots into 3rd position as they arrive into La Source for the first time. The front of the field safely through. The middle of the field also up, as one or two of them run a little bit wide. Plunging on downhill in car with Rafael Maria. He has got Enrique Chavez right ahead of him as side by side there, Andres Saravia and Miguel Ramos. That possibly opens up the door to Thomas Jaeger as in car with Michael Meadows behind on the Lamborghinis. I think that's possibly Federico Leo as they climb out of Radion. The front of the field, though, it's Onslow Cole who leads the way from Albert Costa, then Ben Barnicoat from Norbert Seidler, as wheel to wheel there, Enrique Chavez and Martin Conrad at Les Combes. Both of them take to the escape route. No change in position, as Onslow Cole already beginning to try and pull away if he possibly can. The rest of them all fighting hard behind. Everybody looking to gain a little bit of ground if they possibly can, as Maria to the inside of Miguel Ramos through the left-hander down to the double left at Pouhon. That's the section of the circuit where Cipriani had his awful incident this morning. As Kang Ling also looking to the inside of Miguel Ramos, side by side into Pouhon is not an enviable place to be. but just about sneaking through. And that is good going. Also well up is Nicola DiMarco in the Team Lazarus Lamborghini. We've got a yellow flag. Somebody has had a bit of a moment over at Pouon. We will, whatever it was, I think it was just a quick spin, because we're green again. John Schaffner having a couple of dramas towards the tail of the field. So the race leaders already accelerating towards Blanchimont. It's Davide Roda who had the rotation, as in car with Michael Meadows. He has got Federico Leo right ahead of him. So the leaders all bunch up on the brakes into the bus stop chicane. And over the line they come then. The first lap of the race reeled off. Onslow Cole, his advantage 1.1 seconds over Albert Costa. Barnacote just in behind, as seesawing the wheel a little bit, Michael Meadows, the Antonelli Motorsport Mercedes. Meadows dropping down to 15th over the course of the first lap. He's got former GT Open champion Federico Leo in front of him. That was at the wheel of an AF Course Ferrari. Federico Leo's triumph. It's through the compression at Eau Rouge, then up the hill out of Radillon on to the Kemmel Straight for the first time. Or the second time, rather, as Andres Ravia trying to close up to Norbert Seidler. Now, he and Fran Rueda in the Toyo Marti Motorsport McLaren, after that early retirement yesterday, they've got no success seconds in the pit, so they can keep the race leaders in touching distance. Then there's the chance of claiming another podium as Gianmaria just goes out over the curbs, chasing Martin Conrad. This is the fight for 8th and 9th place. Thomas Jaeger and Enrique Chavez also well within sight. But for Onslow Cole, this has been a good start for he and Valentin Pierberg, Pro-Am class champions last season. Pro-Am class front runners consistently so far this season. It's just dipping onto the brakes. Norbert Seidler trying to get onto terms with Ben Barnacote. Hustling the car of Enrique Chavez, and that's allowing Rafael Gianmaria to join in the fight. Kang Ling in 10th, not too far adrift either. That it's an hour-long race. They want to just stay out of trouble in these early stages, let some of the strategies play through. At least today, we're not expecting any curveballs in terms of the weather, as Onslow Cole, fractionally quicker than Albert Costa on that lap, builds his lead out ever so slightly. It's in the background there. Christopher Froggatt applying a little bit of pressure to Michael Meadows, as Rafael Gianmaria now really hustling Martin Conrad. And Gianmaria may have a run here on Conrad as they head down towards Eau Rouge. It was difficult to tell from that camera angle. It's easy to tell from this one that indeed he does. He looks to draw alongside the Mercedes as they go into Eau Rouge. Has to back out of the move as Conrad determined to make the corner, but Gianmaria is right with him as they climb out of Radillon. And Rafael Gianmaria in the slipstream behind the Mercedes as they head on to the Kemmel Straight. Kang Ling also bobs and weaves behind. He may be able to benefit from this as well, as the Mercedes is sandwiched by the Lamborghinis on the brakes into Les Combes. Oh, and a little bit of contact there. Kang Ling just tags Rafael Gianmaria, forces Gianmaria out wide, and Gianmaria losing 3 positions as a result. And great opportunistic driving there from Kang Ling. He saw the opportunity, leapt to the inside line, but he now comes under immediate pressure from both Martin Conrad and Nicola DiMarco. Dico Lazarus car right in front of us, that of DiMarco. It now opens up a lot of daylight between Enrique Chavez in 7th and this fight for 8th place. They're about to be joined as well by Miguel Ramos. Here is another look at how it all started. Rafael Gianmaria right alongside Martin Conrad, heading down towards Eau Rouge. And Conrad determined to turn in front of Gianmaria, which he does, but then the HTP Motorsport Mercedes just a little bit loose coming out of Radillon, and that gave Gianmaria the chance to then challenge along the Kemmel Straight. This is how it looked from the Italian's perspective. And then Conrad stuck in the middle. Ling to the inside. Gianmaria turned in. He possibly wasn't aware that the Vincenzo Spiri Racing Lamborghini was going to be there until it was. And was there any contact? Yeah, a little bit of a bang, and that's just enough to force Gia Maria to take evasive action. A second or so that he lost allows a slew of cars through. Meanwhile, Onslow Cole and Albert Costa now built up a fairly hefty buffer over Ben Barnicoat and Norbert Seidler in their fight for third and fourth place. Some 2.3 seconds. The leading quartet now are a good 7 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. The pit window, don't forget, opens when there are 36 minutes left on the clock, so we have still got a chunk of time for these battles to sort themselves out. And Onslow Cole, last time around again, just stretching away ever so slightly from Albert Costa. But Costa will know in the second half of the race that Giacomo Altoe may just have the legs on Valentin Pierberg, so he's possibly prepared to play a little bit of a waiting game. As Raffaele Gia Maria, tucked up right behind Nicola Di Marco, running down towards the Bruxelles hairpin. Is he close enough to him to challenge? Not really. Through the right hand of the road, falling away all the while. Then into the sequence of lefts. So it is much as it was. But now that Ling is through past Conrad, he's beginning to ease away. The frustration for Raffaele Gia Maria is that he has got to fight his way through this traffic all over again. As Nicola Di Marco just squirms a little bit under braking in the Lamborghini. Heads through the high-speed chicane onto the Stavolo section of the track now. 51 minutes remaining. They're on their fourth lap. The incident involving Gia Maria and Ling under investigation, and the team manager of car 66, that's Kang Ling, summoned to race control with immediate effect, so we may yet see some sort of sanction occurring. Meanwhile, the battle for third and fourth is very much alive, and Norbert Seidler, headlights ablaze, trying to hassle his way past Ben Barnicoat. In car with Michael Meadows, meanwhile. And Meadows just beginning to lose a little bit of touch with Federico Leo. That gap out to almost a second now. He's got Chris Froggatt right. Oh, and around he goes. Around goes Michael Meadows. And he faces in the wrong direction. Froggatt goes past him, so does Adrian Amstutz. And Michael Meadows had a big spin yesterday at Pouon. Now, can he find a reverse gear? Because if not, we might be looking at a safety car period there to get that car moved to a position of safety. Didn't sound like he had any assistance as the car rotated, but we will maybe get another look at it from the outside. Meadows, I'm pleased to report, is back underway, but he's lost a chunk of time. Now here we see it. Was there a tag? Oh, there might have been just a glancing blow from Chris Froggatt. There certainly was. Yeah, looks like there was just a bit of a tap at just the wrong point of acceleration for Michael Meadows, and it was just enough, using the energy of the directional change, to tip the car into a spin. Yeah, pretty conclusive evidence there. You can see on the front of Froggatt's car the tyre marks from Meadows, and then as he goes back past, he just clips the Antonelli Mercedes. A little bit of trim knocked from both cars. So Onslow Cole still leads, and this has been a good lap once more. His advantage over Albert Costa continues to open up, and the leading duo now the best part of 5 seconds clear of Ben Barnicoat in third, and that particular battle. And we've essentially got two fights in one underway at the moment. We've got the battle for the Pro-Am honours between Tom Onslow Cole and Ben Barnicoat, and the fight for the overall win, involving all four cars, because as they manage to stretch the field, we know that Norbert Seidler was going to have a very lengthy pit stop. Albert Costa, finishing off the podium yesterday, may not, and that gives he and Giacomo Altoe the chance to be in contention. car with Raffaele Gianmaria still tucked up behind Nicola Di Marco. No way through yet past the Team Lazarus Lamborghini. As Gianmaria gets on the brakes into La Source, closes right up to the tail of Di Marco, and then accelerates away downhill. Jietong Liang watches from the garage. And from the external view, you can see that Gianmaria is there or thereabouts. He's not quite close enough to challenge Nicola Di Marco. Gianmaria, who's had success in the International GT Open over many, many years, as now we have got the battle for 5th position that's well and truly come alive, because Thomas Jaeger is really hustling Andres Saravia, as Raffaele Gianmaria is to Jietong Liang. So plenty of fights well underway, all within the top 10. Michael Meadows is into the pit lane, unfortunately, as here is the battle for 5th place. The Mercedes sandwiched between the brace of Teo Martin Motorsport McLarens. Those McLarens look really good, and a disconsolate shutting of the door there for Michael Meadows. Just that possibly the Antonelli Mercedes picked up a little bit more damage than maybe first appeared in that contact, as Jaeger rides the curb, trying to find a way past Saravia. This battle is now happening some 12 seconds adrift of race leader Tom Onslow Cole. But I don't doubt that these cars may well be in with a shout of challenging for a podium later on. As we approach 1/4 race distance, we've got another car that has gone off over at turn 6. We'll try and see who that was in a minute. As pick up Christoph Lenz, and here it is. Oh, and that's a high-speed thump into the tyre barrier at Les Combes for Luis Silva. And Kenny Harble knows that is a fairly hefty shunt, and very unusual to see Luis making that sort of mistake. And the tyre barrier does its job absorbing the energy, but that will, I would be unsurprised if it doesn't bring out a safety car. Distance has all been whittled away. So the safety car out for the incident involving Luis Silva is neutralised, and well, that's what the most important thing really, that Luis Silva is uninjured. Probably feels a little bit tender because it was a fairly hefty thump into the tyre barrier. Sporting new Mercedes again. The safety structure is doing what they needed to. The driver uninjured. The bits of the car that should have crumpled did. The bits that shouldn't didn't. Quick reactions from the photographer behind the barrier as well. It's just the acknowledgement that the fair amount of damage, unfortunately, to the sports and new Mercedes. Lee works against teams is those that have put their pro out for the first half of the race. So Tom Onslow Cole and Ben Barnicoat in particular, also Thomas Jaeger, will feel the effects of this safety car, which is really ill-timed, coming just towards the end of the first third of the race, but also those that have got longer pit. With the pit window opening in. Here's a look once more at how the race started. An in-car with Michael Meadows as Kang Ling jostled for ground on the way towards La Source for the first time. All very busy, but everybody was able to stay out of trouble. This then was the moment that Kang Ling just tagged into the side of Raffaele Gianmaria. It cost Gianmaria several places, and Ling quite a big beneficiary. And then the contact between Chris Froggatt and Michael Meadows that has sadly put Meadows in the Antonelli Motorsport Mercedes out of the race. Then the exit from Luis Silva. And that is what has given us the safety car. So hopefully it is going to be a reasonably brief period behind the safety car, because the marshals and circuit staff here at Spa-Francorchamps are very well drilled in recovering cars pretty quickly, and hopefully didn't go in hard enough to do any damage to the Armco barrier, which would necessitate a somewhat longer pause to events. So the field all taking to the escape route through Les Combes, which is why the marshals are on the road waving them that way. And that means that the circuit staff can set about recovering the car of Louis Silva without the risk of 20-odd GT3s barging past them. So in terms of the classes then, it's Tom Onslow Cole who leads the Pro-Am class from Ben Barnicoat, with Thomas Jaeger currently third of the Pro-Ams. But as we were saying, we'll expect that to all change with the field being bunched up now just prior to the pit window opening. In the AM class, it's Martin Conrad who leads the way from John Schaffner and Davide Roda. So don't forget, of course, the pit window closes when there are 24 minutes left on the clock. So we will see how the strategy comes into play depending on how long we're behind the safety car. There's Valentin Pierberg on the right-hand side of your picture. And for the SPS Automotive team, very frustrating, but it is only going to be one lap here behind the safety car because the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. So that is good news for those at the front of the pack. They're probably going to get two laps under their belt before the pit lane opens, and then another 5 or so laps in the pit window. So there's still a chance to gain a little bit of ground. So we hit 1/3 race distance behind the safety car here in Spa-Francorchamps. And all the teams on the pit wall just maybe passing on instructions for the restart. The main one, I think, being stay out of trouble. We have got a penalty for Kang Ling, 5 seconds added to the end to his race time for that tag with Raffaele Gianmaria. And I guess we will find out later on how important that turns out to be for him and Frederick Schandorf. For now, I don't think it is too much of a concern as the safety car lights are out. It's the responsibility of Onslow Cole to pace the field, getting ready for the restart. In car then with Nicola Di Marco in the Dico Lazarus Lamborghini. He is right up behind Martin Conrad. And Nicola Di Marco, a former competitor in the FIA Formula 2 Championship, was run by Motorsport Vision. Also, we've seen him in the GT Open before, going back several years ago at the wheel of a Mercedes. As now it is the Mercedes of Tom Onslow Cole who will accelerate out of the bus stop chicane. And away we go then once more to start the 9th lap of the race. Albert Costa, the ever-present shadow of Onslow Cole, as Ben Barnicoat just covers the inside line slightly into La Source hairpin to make sure there's no way through for Norbert Seidler. And Seidler probably the biggest loser of all from the timing of this safety car. As Miguel Ramos just elbowed aside a little bit through La Source. Onslow Cole blasts out of Eau Rouge. And yeah, that was a move from Eliseo Martinez on Miguel Ramos for 12th place. As along the Kemmel Straight. In the background, Enrique Chavez looking every which way on Thomas Jaeger. Jaeger, though, positions the Mercedes to make sure that there is no way through for the McLaren. And so, with the exception of that Ramos demotion, there's been no change in the order on the restart. 2 minutes until the pit window opens. Now, is anybody going to be able to quite sneak into the pits this lap? I don't think they will. The field being as tightly packed as it is post-safety car. Raffaele Gianmaria, well, with Nicola Di Marco. As they turn through Pouhon. And then on towards Fagnes. And Onslow Cole getting the hammer down early, trying to rebuild his lead, wanting to give Valentin Pierberg as much of an advantage for the second half of the race as he possibly can. That is why Onslow Cole has been so effective with Valentin Pierberg over the past few years in the championship. They've won races outright. They were Pro-Am champions last year in dramatic circumstances in the last race of the year in Barcelona. And now the field thundering towards Blanchimont, about to come towards the start of the 10th lap. So they all get on the brakes, jink through the bus stop chicane. DeMarco thinking about lining up a move on Martin Conrad. Conrad just moves half a car width away from the optimum racing line, just to make sure there's no way that DeMarco could zip through. So the field arriving into the hairpin at La Source. Back in car with Rafael Maria. He's getting very, very familiar with the rear spoiler of Nicola DeMarco. But you get the feeling that possibly Martin Conrad, a little bit of the cork in the bottle here. Because as soon as either of these Lamborghinis could get past the Mercedes, they might be able to pull away. But at the moment, Conrad proving very difficult to overhaul. That's a good run coming through Radion for both Lamborghinis. Zonslo Cole tips through into Lecombe. 1.2 seconds, his advantage over Albert Costa as the pit window is now open. And can anticipate to see a flurry of cars coming in at the end of this lap, and the timing of the safety car has been such in terms of people's track position that it's really served to shorten the pit window by about 2 minutes. So that alters the strategic play that some of the teams have been wanting to make. Miguel Ramos, having qualified 6th, he's had a frustrating stint down into 13th place. Him, Fabrizio Cristani will have an additional 10 seconds or so in the pits as a result of finishing runners-up yesterday. So they will, well, Cristani, post-pit stops will have his work cut out, I think, to salvage a big points-playing position for the SPS Mercedes. Superb scrap still for 5th position. Andres Saravia unable really to shake off this gaggle of cars behind him. The first daylight then comes between Rafael Maria and Eliseo Martinez. And then just behind Ramos, we've got Federico Leo and Christopher Froggatt beginning to loom large. Now here is a moment for, in the background, Rafael Maria right out to the edge of the gravel. And that's a corner that really bites you if you push too hard. Here is how it felt from Maria's perspective. Still just nails the throttle. That's about all he could do. Zonslo Cole and Albert Costa accelerate through. Now into the pit lane has come Norbert Seidler to hand over to Michael Grenier, and there's quite a few of them darting in behind. Andres Saravia and Enrique Chavez. Chavez are into the pits. Hand over to Fran Reda and Martin Kodrich. Miguel Ramos to Fabrizio Cristani. Chris Froggatt to Edward Cheever, Adrian Amstutz to Patrick Koala. So it is all change, exactly as we've expected. Now this could be significant as well, as tyres get changed for Michael Grenier. Is a 10-second penalty for the Froggatt Cheever car as a result of that contact with Michael Meadows, as Patrick Koala gets strapped in to the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. This is the Tempesta Ferrari that's got that 10-second time penalty to be added at the end of the race. That could have a bearing on things. Fran Rueda will be hoping for better luck than yesterday in the Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren. As Ben Barnicoat continues to press on, so the leading trio, no change in the order. We will see of those that have pitted at the earliest opportunity who it is who emerges at the head of the train, and it is Fran Rueda who has come out first. So with the success seconds for Grenier and Kodrich, he leapfrogs them. Kodrich and Onidi emerge pretty much as one. So Albert Costa and Giacomo Altoe may quietly fancy their chances here. Albert Costa, great success in the past in the championship with Emil Frey Racing. That was in a Lexus a couple of seasons ago. He's a driver who's won the Formula Renault 2 Litre Euro Cup. He's won the McGann Trophy. Very, very highly rated competitor. And he is putting together really exactly the sort of stint that he'd have wanted. He's keeping the leader in eyeshot. It means that Valentin Pierberg's not going to come out of the pits with much in the way of an advantage. Zonslo Cole accelerates through to the end of lap 11. And in the background, Ben Barnicoat, again, we would have expected to be out relatively deep into the window. So of those that have pitted, the order is Fran Rueda from Martin Kodrich, Fabio Onidi, Edward Cheever, Fabrizio Cristani and Patrick Koala. Michael Grenier, with those success seconds, has come out all the way down in 19th position. So he has a long afternoon ahead of him in terms of racking up any points. Not such a problem at the moment for the sister car of Albert Costa, but of course they've got to get through the pit stop without any problems. As in comes Federico Leo to hand over to Naji Razak. Pretty much the pit stop being made at exactly half race distance for them. The Ombra Racing team get to work, bolting some new tyres onto the car. Davide Roda in as well, one of the potential front runners in the AM class for a podium. He may yet feature, depending on the advantage that Martin Conrad is able to build up for Alexander Raquina, as Onslow Cole and Albert Costa fly in formation. Ben Barnacote there solidly in third. Now up to fourth is Thomas Jaeger, the third of the Pro-Am runners still in the race, who has not pitted. And then Martin Conrad elevated to fifth, with Nicola DiMarco, Raffaele Gianmaria and John Schaffner all still continuing. Pit window open for another 6.5 minutes. And Onslow Cole, fastest lap in his, is currently in his credit, a 2 minutes 18.6. He set that just prior to the safety car being scrambled. His last lap was a 2 minutes 19.2, which is not surprising. His tyres probably coming towards the end of their best, and they'd want to have some fresh rubber ready for Valentin Pierberg. So Onslow Cole arrives now into the bus stop chicane with exactly 6 minutes left in the pit window, which means that there is time for 2 more laps for this group of cars. So Onslow Cole thunders away, and Albert Costa ducks into the pit lane to pass over the keys of the Lamborghini to Giacomo Altoe. Albert Costa rolls into position. The Emil Frey Racing team getting ready to service the car up on the air jacks. Costa out, Altoe in. Also in is Nicola DiMarco, to hand over to Nicholas Pola. Pola, of course, involved in that absolutely gigantic accident in the Euro Formula Open going back several years, where he had a multiple barrel roll on the route towards Pouhon. But has been going well this weekend in the Dico Lazarus Lamborghini. So Onslow Cole presses on. Ben Barnacote and Thomas Jaeger still continuing, as are Martin Conrad and Raffaele Gianmaria. Janine Hill hops into the Get Speed Mercedes in place of John Schaffner. So of those that have pitted, it is Fran Rueda who leads the charge. He is 73 seconds adrift of Tom Onslow Cole. So in terms of how this is going to play through with the pit stops, it's going to be very, very tight post-pit stop, because Rueda is banging in some very impressive laps that are at a match of, if not a little bit quicker, maybe, than Onslow Cole is doing. The same goes for Martin Kodrich, 5 seconds behind, as Nicholas Pola emerges from the pits and gets up to speed in the Lamborghini. Don't forget, the pit window closes when there are 24 minutes left on the clock. But with a lap time just shy of 2 minutes and 20 seconds, Onslow Cole is going to have time for just one more tour of the circuit, as fast lap of the race has now been set by Patrick Koala in the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. Koala a 2 minutes 18.1, so he is flying. He's right on terms with Fabrizio Cristani. But the challenge here is we've got a group of cars, Chiva, Cristani and Koala, who are all running very closely to one another. The risk is that they may start to cancel each other out instead of climbing on up through the order. Onslow Cole, for the 14th time, heads down towards Eau Rouge. And that safety car really being ill-timed in terms of what he and Pierberg would have hoped to have done in terms of stretching the field, giving Valentin Pierberg a decent advantage in the Pro-Am class, a chance for an overall podium. Ditto for Ben Barnacote and Marcello Hahn. And then some 4.5 seconds back from the pair of them. As Thomas Jaeger comes into view, he will hand over to Kenny Harble in the row racing Sun Energy Mercedes. Now, Giacomo Altoe has emerged from the pits just ahead of Martin Kodrich and 5 seconds behind Fran Rueda. So here is Rueda, and Rueda, when all is done in the pit stops, may well find himself in the lead of the race here, because he has been able to jump Giacomo Altoe through the pit stops. Those extra 5 seconds for Altoe relative to the Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren proving to be very important. Altoe has got Martin Kodrich right with him. Patrick Koala continues to fly. Oh, and that's Giacomo Altoe, the joint championship leader, has hit trouble at the bus stop chicane. Now, what happened here is he was trying to pass Martin Kodrich and went straight on and essentially ran out of road. Now, whether or not that was a mechanical issue, because he hadn't locked the brakes, he just seemed to be going in very hot. I think it could well be, because into the pit lane comes Giacomo Altoe for Emil Frey Racing. And well, did we speak too soon? At one point, it looked as if he and Albert Costa were very well poised to come away from Spa with the lead of the championship. Now he's in the pits, and even if he goes straight back out there, it is very unlikely that Altoe is going to be in a position to get some points from the race. The car goes up on the jacks as Onslow Cole now peels into the pit lane. It's hand over to Valentin Pierberg. That is the scheduled pit stop. So we are going to have a really fascinating close to the race, because Fran Rueda leads 7.1 seconds clear of Martin Kodrich of those that have pitted. Where Valentin Pierberg feeds out into all of this, we will find out in a few moments' time. So Onslow Cole comes to a halt. Out he gets. In gets the tall figure of Valentin Pierberg as Rafael Gia Maria rolls down. He'll be looking for his lollipop to signal him in to hand over to Jiatong Liang. Hits his marks, flicks the engine off. Martin Conrad out of the HTP Motorsport Mercedes to hand over to Alexander Raquina as well. Meanwhile, Patrick Koala has set another fast lap of the race, 2 minutes 17.8. He is phenomenally quick at the wheel of the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini, but has a lot of cars to pass. Marcello Hahn serviced and ready to go as well. So Fran Rueda is currently somewhere in the third sector of the lap, and the answer is he is exiting the bus stop chicane now. Here is Rueda, no signal, yet now we have the signal that Valentin Pierberg is out of the pit lane. So Pierberg is going to be the race leader from Marcello Hahn, then Fran Rueda and Martin Kodrich. So for Teo Martin Motorsport, an opportunity at a race win. But let's see, with 23.5 minutes to go, what sort of lead Valentin Pierberg is going to have. As Jiatong Liang heads down out of the pit lane, he's just behind Alexander Raquina as Fran Rueda behind teammate Hahn. And they flash through 5 seconds behind Valentin Pierberg. So Pierberg has a little bit of a buffer, but he needs to get up to speed, and quite some speed very quickly, because he's just got the distance from Bruxelles back to the exit of Les Combes, really. As Fran Rueda flashes his headlights at Marcello Hahn. Oh, and Hahn spins around, fortunately not into the path of Fran Rueda. But is that going to allow Kenny Harble to get ahead of the McLaren up into second in the Pro-Am class? Possibly. So now Fran Rueda is released into clear air. In third place, it is Martin Kodrich. There is Kodrich. Fourth is Kenny Harble. Fifth is Nicholas Pola. And in sixth now, it's Marcello Hahn ahead of Fabio Onidi. Another look there, Marcello Hahn into the Bruxelles hairpin. Just slithered out, and it's very slippery offline in the hairpin there today. We've seen a couple of people caught out in other races, and around goes Hahn. Meanwhile, here is the scrap. Frederick Schandorf, head of Naji Razak amongst others. Razak running wide, Patrick Koala part of that group as well. But here is the race leader, Valentin Pierberg, 4.6 seconds his lead over Fran Rueda. still over a third of the race to run. So we're talking here in the territory of 9 or so laps for Valentin Pierberg. Here is Michael Grenier to the inside of Jiatong Liang, and Grenier with teammate Altoe in the pits. If he can recover into the top 10, he may emerge as the championship leader. And Pierberg, his lead down to 3.5 seconds from Fran Rueda. So they came through to end the lap. Martin Kodrich then in third. Kenny Harble, second in the Pro-Am class. He has got Nicholas Pola looming onto his tail. And there's a possibility of a podium in all of this for Nicholas Pola, depending on if he can get past Harble, and then what his pace is relative to that of Valentin Pierberg. Likewise for Fabio Onidi, if he could find a way around Marcello Hahn. It looks as if Onidi has got a pretty decent exit from Radion. Marcello Hahn just parks the McLaren in the middle of the road. Onidi draws alongside. They arrive into Les Combes, and swooping through goes Fabio Onidi. So he gains a position over Marcello Hahn. Then behind them is the Frederick Schandorf-headed group with Edward Cheever, Fabrizio Cristani, Patrick Koala, all a part of that. So you've got a lot of very, very quick cars covered by about 20 seconds or so. With 20 minutes to go, then it could be all change. There you see Cheever, but don't forget the white Ferrari of Cheever. He's got a 10-second penalty at the end of the race. Frederick Schandorf has got a 5-second penalty. And an absolutely disconsolate Giacomo Altoe, whatever the issue was, forced him out into retirement. And he knows that's one that got away as Fabrizio Cristani goes elbow to elbow with Cheever into Fagna. The Tempesta Racing Ferrari, though, able to fend off the best efforts of Cristani for now. They've got Patrick Koala homing in onto their tail, and only about 4 seconds back down the road as well is Michael Grenier. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Valentin Pierberg's lead over Fran Rueda is down to just 2 seconds as Frederick Schandorf's got a decent run on Marcello Hahn, heading towards Blanchimont. Through they go, and Hahn runs out wide, and that should allow Schandorf past. Indeed it does. It may also allow Cheever the possibility of a little bit of a challenge into the bus stop chicane. But don't forget the black Lamborghini of Frederick Schandorf. He's got 5 seconds to his race time. Cheever's got 10 seconds, for instance, in the first half of the race. So those time differentials need to be factored in as well. As now Fran Rueda is right with Valentin Pierberg, just a second between them as they went over the line. And here they come out of Radion on to the Kemmel Straight then. And Fran Rueda, the low-slung McLaren, hidden behind the Mercedes, as Rueda looks to make the move on Pierberg, eases to the inside, and Valentin Pierberg can't shut the door. Fran Rueda takes the lead of the race. And after the disappointment of yesterday for the Teo Martin Motorsport pairing, now Fran Rueda and Andres Saravia have got the second victory of the season for them in their sights. Rueda will just look to pull clear of Pierberg, and it's not that Pierberg has been off the pace at all, it's just that Fran Rueda is able to consistently lap in the sub 2-minute 20-second bracket. Marcello Hahn has been shuffled through this group. Patrick Koala, the next driver, to attempt to find a way past the McLaren. And this is for Pro-Am podium honours as well. So Koala, anxious in the bright green Imperiale Racing Lamborghini to move through. Here, meanwhile, is a look at Davide Roda to the inside of Janine Hill. Oh, into La Source. Janine Hill shuts the door on Roda. These two fighting for second and third in the AM class. Doing a pretty good job of it at the moment, as it's Hill who's just still ahead of Roda. And Patrick Koala continuing to hassle Marcello Hahn. He just couldn't quite commit to the move. At that point, now he can, on the way towards Blanchimont. So Patrick Koala goes up into 10th, or does he? And Hahn doesn't want to concede his blanchiment, nor does Koala, who swoops through, takes the racing line. It now leaves Marcello Hahn vulnerable to the challenge from Naji Razak. And Razak darts past Alberto Di Folco as well, just behind and part of this group. So all sorts of battles to watch for, because the top 10, 19 seconds cover them, as Di Folco round the outside of Marcello Hahn into La Source. And Michael Grenier is also looking to join in that fight as well. So to give you a quick rundown of the order, you can see the class situation on the left of the picture, but it is Fran Rueda who leads overall from Valentin Pierberg. Martin Kodric is third. Fourth is Kenny Harble. Fifth is Nicholas Pola. Sixth, Fabio Anidi. Seventh, Frederick Schandorf. Eighth, Edward Cheever. Ninth, Fabrizio Cristani. And 10th is Patrick Koala. So lots of battles all the way through the order. So Nicholas Pola is right with Kenny Harble here. Meanwhile, is drama over at the bus stop chicane, and it's Davide Roda, just a little bit too exuberant with the right foot, and snatches the Antonelli Motorsport Mercedes into a half spin. So we're currently with the fight for 11th place between Naji Razak and Alberto Di Folco. The battles at the front of the field are all coming together. Nicholas Pola is right with Kenny Harble in the fight for 4th and 5th position. Patrick Koala looking to hunt down the group in front of him. And Michael Grenier just a couple of places away from getting into the points, and therefore the championship lead. It is all very close with just under 15 minutes to run as we wait for the race leader, Fran Rueda, to come past, which he does now. He leads from Valentin Pierberg as we have a look. Jia Tong Liang making the move on Alexander Fraquina. And here is how it was from Liang's perspective, fairly straightforward in the event. So race leader, Fran Rueda, his leader over Valentin Pierberg, out to 4.5 seconds. Pierberg, at the moment, is matching Martin Kodric for pace. So the Teo Martin Motorsport team, first and third. There is Pierberg in the background. In 4th place, it's Kenny Harble. He has still got Nicholas Pola all over his tail, as Valentin Pierberg arrives into Les Combes, leading the Pro-Am class. Second overall, here's Martin Kodric. And Kodric hunting Pierberg, but as I say, matching him for pace pretty much at the moment. We'll see how long that holds for, as Alberto Di Folco right back with Naji Razak. Somebody's kicked up a little bit of dust. And they've got Michael Grenier just in behind them. Down towards the left-hander. Great scrap for 11th place, this, as the fight in front of it for sort of 8th hasn't really quite come together yet. And this is the challenge with the aerodynamic effects of the big rear spoilers on these GT3 cars. Sometimes driving through the turbulent air of the car in front can be a little bit of a challenge, and that's what they're all grappling with just at the moment. Fair few track limit warning flags being dispensed as well. But some of the AM drivers in the Pro-Am class doing a really good job of fending off the opposition. Valentin Pierberg and Kenny Harble in particular in 2nd and 4th overall. So this trio of Lamborghinis head towards Bourgemont. Now this is the closest that Alberto Di Folco has been to Naji Razak. Is he going to be near enough to challenge into the bus stop chicane? No, he's not, but Michael Grenier looking to try and line up the move on Di Folco. Although the team manager for car 14 to race control immediately. Now here is the battle for fourth place, and it is a queue of cars. It's Kenny Harble who heads it. Nicholas Pola just ahead of teammate Fabio Anidi. Then we've got Frederic Schandorf, Edward Cheever, Fabrizio Crestani, Patrick Koala, all part of this group. They are some 5 seconds behind Martin Kodrich. And Nicholas Pola has been with Kenny Harble for a while, but he's not been in the position to yet threaten for that place. Is it going to be this time around? Down the Kemmel Straight, the Mercedes punching the hole in the air as Pola darts out, and this time he looks the inside into Les Commes. He's going to go for it, so is Fabio Anidi. But Anidi has to back out of the move at the last moment. Harble shuts the door, and so Nicholas Pola released into clear air. Now what can he do about trying to chase down the Kodrich and Pierburg battle ahead of him? Another look at it, he was right up behind the Mercedes, burst out of the slipstream at the last moment, jinked through. Anidi thought the gap may have been there. Turned out it wasn't. It's Nicholas Pola through to fourth overall. And immediately Frederic Schandorf up behind Fabio Anidi. Don't forget that 66 car has got a 5-second time penalty added to it at the end of the race. The white Ferrari of Edward Cheever, that's a 10-second penalty. So that will also serve to shuffle up the order a little bit. And as it currently stands, that would be enough to elevate Patrick Koala in the green Imperiale Racing Lamborghini, the tail of that queue, up into third in the Pro-Am class. As Schandorf has got a decent run now on Fabio Anidi as they come on to the back stretch. Cheever looking to be part of that group as well. Schandorf going to be near enough to challenge, not really at Blanchimont, possibly on the brakes into the bus stop chicane as Anidi slithers a little bit wide, but he keeps his foot in. They all jink through the chicane. Onward towards La Source, and Anidi having to defend from Frederic Schandorf. Schandorf looks to try and at least come alongside on the way into the hairpin, then for the switch back on the run down the hill, and he may be able to benefit here. Hard to see from that camera angle. Next time round, he's being squeezed a bit by Anidi, but it's Anidi who is slightly offline. So head into Eau Rouge, Schandorf has to back out of the manoeuvre, and that momentary hesitation may give Cheever the chance to benefit from a double toe as they come onto the Kemmel Straight. Just 9 minutes and change left in the race, and this wonderful cavalcade of supercars, none of them change position this time into Les Commes, but they are all fighting very, very hard with each other. On downhill towards the braking zone into Bruxelles, it's Cheever just snatches a break a little bit. They're all bottled up behind Fabio Anidi. Patrick Koala trying to force the move on Fabrizio Crestani, but Crestani, we have seen over the years, a very, very difficult driver to overtake. Nicholas Pola in clear air, not really romping clear of Kenny Harble just at the moment. As now, side by side, Schandorf has got the drop on Anidi going through Pouhon and gains the place. Anidi will hope to fight back into Fagnes, but he can't. But then Cheever goes for a move and runs out very wide, and Edward Cheever, he's going to lose a couple of places as Patrick Koala looks to follow in Fabrizio Crestani's wheel tracks around him. Cheever squeezes Koala off on towards the gravel then. And that may warrant a little bit of a look, because yes, Koala was committed, but there wasn't an awful lot of space for him. At the front of the field, it's still Fran Rueda who leads, 8.2 seconds clear of Martin Kodrich. So another look at it all, and Cheever commits the move on Anidi, realises out of position, has to get on the brakes, runs out wide, rejoins as Koala is alongside, and then, well, there was no contact there, and Koala, there was a little bit more space, he possibly just went in too hot. Now here is the fight for second and third between Valentin Pierburg and Martin Kodrich, and Kodrich, it's been a couple of laps coming, but he is now right with the SPS Automotive Mercedes. This fight happening 8 or so seconds adrift of the race leaders. And so very interesting. See whether or not Kodric is going to pull the pin and try and go through, whether or not he'll just settle for 2 podiums for the weekend. But the answer is he thinks about the move, he looks to the inside into Lake Common, he's going to go for it. Valentin Pierberg decides not to defend. Pierberg still leads the Pro-Am class, comfortably so. Allows Kodric to get through without too much aggression. And so it is a Teo Martin Motorsport 1-2. The Bracer McLarens flying at the front of the field in the Pro-Am class. It's still Valentin Pierberg who leads the class from Kenny Harble, and then on adjusted time it will be Patrick Kuala who would be third in the class with Adrian Amstutz. And in the AM class, it's Alexander Raquina who leads from Davide Roda and Janine Hill. Here it comes again. And Kodric, the classic Lake-On manoeuvre, out of the slipstream to the inside, found the traction. Quiet satisfaction on the Teo Martin Motorsport gantry, but they are now at that point where, with the minutes ticking down, they would rather like to see the checkered flag appearing sooner rather than later. I think there's going to be time for 3 more laps at the end of the one that is going to be completed imminently by Fran Rueda. Nicholas Pola is 5.3 seconds back from Pierberg. He's closing at a rate of about a second lap, so that's not going to be too much for Pierberg to worry about. I don't think that final spot on the podium is particularly under threat. Meanwhile, Schandorf to the inside of Kenny Harble, slides through, gains the position. Now, can Frederick Schandorf pull 5 seconds clear of Patrick Kuala? Now he's got a little bit of daylight to play with, particularly as Fabio Anidi is continuing to keep a train behind him as Fabrizio Crestani looks one side, then the other, and darts for the move into La Source. On the switchback, Anidi tries to come back through as Patrick Kuala is also through on Chiva, so this is going to get very busy as they head on downhill. And it's going to be the run towards Radion. It's still somehow Anidi at the head of the train. All varying angles of attack through Eau Rouge and Radion, out on to the Kemmel Straight then. And very close dicing, but no changes in the order. Into Les Combes they slide once more. Now, what is the gap between Frederick Schandorf and Patrick Kuala? At the moment, it is less than 5 seconds, as Kuala almost sees a little bit of a gap to the inside at Bruxelles on Fabrizio Crestani. Thinks about trying to take advantage of it, realises that that is not going to be forthcoming. So running, and we've got this huge group of cars all the way really from 4th back to 10th, running as a train. In 11th place, it's Michael Grenier, but Grenier, he is within 10 seconds of Edward Cheever, so he is likely to move into 10th position on adjusted time. And there is Grenier in the background. So they blast on through the trees. Nicholas Pola is bringing Frederick Schandorf with him, and Schandorf in daylight, he might just do enough here to snatch a Pro-Am podium. I think he will be overhauled in adjusted time by Kenny Harble. It's touch and go now, whether or not he does the same to Patrick Kuala, as Fran Rader has come through to start the penultimate lap of the race, all a bit congested through the bus stop chicane. And Rueda's lead is a substantial one at present, 10.9 seconds over Martin Kodric. Valentin Pierberg, last time around, he was caught at a rate of 1.5 seconds by Nicholas Pola, and doesn't want to give much more time away per lap than that, Valentin Pierberg. Because at 1.5 seconds a lap, that means that Pola could be right with the Mercedes by the time they get to the bus stop chicane for the final time, particularly as Pola is being prodded along by Frederick Schandorf. Schandorf knows that he's got to overcome that penalty picked up by Kang Ling early on in the race. Now another look at what happened through the bus stop chicane. And Cristani over-committed, that slowed Koala. Got a little bit of a tag from Chiva, but nothing too serious. So they remain as they were. There is Frederick Schandorf. And still Patrick Koala trying to overhaul Fabrizio Cristani. Some great battling going on late into the race. Kenny Harble doing a very fine job in 6th place there in the Sun Energy Mercedes as Schandorf looks to the inside Nicholas Pola as they arrive into Fania. They can see Valentin Pierberg ahead of them. Now at the pace certainly that Schandorf ran last time round, he would be with Pierberg by the checkered flag. What's the differential at the end of Sector 2? It was a 64.8 for Pola, a 65.0 for Pierberg. So a couple of tenths of a second chipped away. 2.6 seconds though, still Pierberg's advantage. That feels like it is too much. Schandorf threatening Pola. He's going to pull the trigger. Yes, he does. Darts to the inside Nicholas Pola into the bus stop chicane. Can he get the car stopped in time? Just about, but Nicholas Pola able to switch back through. And Frederick Schandorf clearly felt he had to make the move as we head into the last lap here in Spa. All the while, the battle for the second half of the top 10 continues. There in the background is Michael Grenier. So how much ground maybe on the last lap can Grenier make up? That car has got the fastest lap to its credit as well, as here is the race leader, Fran Rueda. And he and Andres Saravia, they have had some bad luck this season, but now they are looking like he and Andres Saravia are going to get their second win of the year after being eliminated effectively before the race got going yesterday behind the safety car. They are now just half a lap away from home. Fran Rueda doesn't want to take any risks, doesn't want to overexert the car. At the same time, doesn't want to lose concentration on a day where Giacomo Otoe was forced into retirement from a golden opportunity. The success seconds from prior victories are going to limit Michael Grenier to just a point or so. Then this is a victory that is going to propel Fran Rueda and Andres Saravia right back into the title fight as we set our sights on the Red Bull Ring in mid-July. So through the chicane. And Fran Rueda is very nearly home now as he heads on out of the Stavelot section of the track towards Blanchimont. And this is going to be a very fine victory for Fran Rueda and Andres Saravia. Just now needs to get through the bus stop chicane without any drama. So he gets on the brakes, shifts down through the gears. Doesn't go in too hot, just gets the exit spot on. He can see the checkered flag now, and it's a second victory of the season in the International GT Open for Fran Rueda and Andres Saravia and Teo Martin Motorsport. The Spanish squad celebrate a 1-2 because Martin Kodrich and Enrique Chavez come home in second, and Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow Cole at the flag, taking third place in the Pro-Am class victory. The rest of the order will sort out once various time penalties are applied, and with those time penalties, it does mean that Patrick Koala, Adrian Amstert's finished third in the Pro-Am class behind Kenny Harble and Thomas Jaeger, and Michael Grenier finishes in 9th place in the end in the Emile Frey Racing Lamborghini. The field all very tightly bunched late on as Marcello Hahn crosses the line. We'll then have a fairly lengthy pause before our AM class winner, Davide Roda, will come through to take the checkered flag. There is Alexander Fraquina, who was passed by Roda a couple of laps ago. Here is Davide Roda. And despite his various adventures, he has had the pace to come through for AM class honours ahead of Jiatong Liang. And into Parc Fermé for Fran Rueda. He will pop the gull wing on the Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren. A perfectly judged performance for him and Andres Saravia. They knew they didn't have the success handicap, and they've been able to use that to very, very good effect. So job done for Rueda. Out of the car he gets. Fist pump in delight after the disappointment of race one. The perfect way to bounce back. So look at the classification then. The victory for Fran Rueda and Andres Saravia. Teo Martin Motorsport 1-2 ahead of Martin Kodrich and Enrique Chavez. Valentin Pierberg and Twanslow Cole finished third and are the Pro-Am class winners. Nicola DeMarco and Nicholas Pola a very strong fourth. Ahead of Kenny Harble and Thomas Jaeger, runners up once more in the Pro-Am class from Martinez and Onnidi, then Ramos and Cristani. Amstutz and Koala on adjusted time. A third in the Pro-Am class from Pele Racing ahead of Seidler and Grenier. A couple of points in ninth. Some great battling all the way through the field, but disappointment for Albert Costa and Giacomo Altoe, forced into retirement just after the pit stops, and also for Luis Silva, a big incident in the Sports and New Mercedes that brought out the safety car, and likewise Michael Meadows, another disappointed early departure. Fast after the race to Patrick Koala. So in terms of the championship then, it's Enrique Chavez and Martin Kodrich who lead the standings by 1 point from Grenier and Seidler. Altoe and Costa just 3 points back. Cristani and Ramos, Rueda and Saravia all in the mix. 12 points covering the leading 5 combinations, 6 races into the season. It's going to be a really thrilling year in the International GT Open. Still, of course, a lot of racing to come. 4 more rounds to look forward to. We'll hit the midpoint of the season a few weeks' time in Austria.
Fran Rueda, Andres Saravia, second win of the season, and after the joke of yesterday, it must be a good feeling today.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. I think we couldn't have a better ending result. Obviously, I mean, I'm not going to comment what happened yesterday because it's ridiculous. But yeah, very happy for today. Very happy for a second victory. Obviously, the championship is a bit difficult. I don't know how we are, but I mean, if we can get 20 victories this season or whatever, more victories than last season, I'll be happy. So it's cool.
No, and you are good in the championship. Andres, the initial stint, how was it?
It was difficult in the beginning. We had a really good qualifying. We were starting P5, but the initial pace wasn't really there. We were a bit lucky with a safety car, but we did a great job. The team did a great job today, and Fran brought it home and overtook the guys we needed to overtake to get that P1.
Well done, guys. Enjoy.
The lights went green. It was Tom Onslow Cole who took the advantage as the field charged towards La Source, fending off Albert Costa and Ben Barnacoe. Everybody stayed out of trouble through the somewhat notorious hairpin, but there was some brilliant racing early on. A little bit too close to comfort at times as Kang Ling just tagged Raffaele Gianmaria. That was eventually going to cost Ling a 5-second time penalty. 10 seconds went to Christopher Froggatt's raced him after he tipped Michael Meadows around, and that unfortunately forced the Antonelli Mercedes into retirement. Some really close fighting throughout the field, but then a safety car after Luis Silva spun off and clouted the tyre barrier over at Les Combes. Also, post-pit stops, Marcello Hahn spinning around, and that elevated Fran Rueda to chase down Valentin Pierberg. Rueda gliding past the SPS Automotive Mercedes to take the lead of the race. He would not give back. Meanwhile, Patrick Koala, en route to fastest lap of the race, was charging as Nicholas Pola and Fabio Onnidi were doing battle with Kenny Harble. So it was a second win of the season for Fran Rueda and Andres Saravia, with in second position Martin Kodrich and Enrique Chavez in the sister Teo Martin Motorsport McLaren, taking the lead of the championship by just 1 point, heading away from Spa with the podium completed and Pro-Am honours to Valentin Pierberg and Onslow Cole. Davide Roda winning the AM class once more. So the safety car possibly working against the SPS team. They may have got a bit more than third place had they not had the safety car, but nonetheless, a great result. So time for the rostrum. So third place to Onslow Cole and Pierberg. The SPS team applauding them out on to the rostrum. So third to Pierberg and Onslow Cole. And Pierberg joined by Onslow Cole, runners up, then Kodrich and Chavez. Fran Rueda and Andres Saravia it is to celebrate the top step of the podium for Teo Martin Motorsport. Time for selfies on the podium, and the third place trophies to Onslow Cole and Valentin Pierberg. Pole position to third place and Pro-Am class victory. Runners up then Martin Kodrich and Enrique Chavez, and the leader of the championship for the Teo Martin Motorsport pairing with Andres Saravia. Fran Rueda celebrate on the top step of the podium to the roars of the team down in pit lane. A great day for Teo Martin Motorsport after the disappointment of yesterday, a 1-2 on the podium in Spa. So we will be back in action in the International GT Open at the Red Bull Ring, returning to the calendar in mid-July. So as the drivers pose for the photos and make merry with the bubbly. Thank you for joining us this weekend. Hope you've enjoyed the action. We'll see you next time. Jaeger, a great return from their weekend's work. And Onslow Cole and Valentin Pierberg, this will be strengthening their tilt at defending the Pro-Am Championship. And with the trophies presented, 6 happy drivers up on the rostrum, posing for the photos and then making merry with the bubbly. Koala and Amsterd's wanting nothing to do with it. Pierberg and Onslow Cole very ready to celebrate, as are Jaeger and Harble. And Kenny Harble really enjoying the moment, it's safe to say. So the applause of the SPS mechanics. And last but certainly not least, time for the AM class podium, with third in the AM class, Janine Hill and John Schaffner in the Get Speed Racing Mercedes. Busy afternoon for them. Runners up for Alexander Raquina and Martin Conrad, and that helps their push towards the AM Championship. And Davide Roda again celebrating on the top step of the AM class podium. Oh, well, he enjoyed that, really did. So the trophies presented. We are next in action at the Red Bull Ring in mid-July. Promises to be another excellent weekend of racing, but as the drivers celebrate on the podium, remains to say thank you very much for joining us in Spa this weekend. It has been a weekend of fluctuating fortunes, drama all the way through qualifying and the races. And we have got a very good championship heading in to Red Bull Ring. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.